Welcome to the next live session of Seibert Media. This is a pre-recording prior to a launch of a product, and we have a guest today, which is Nicholas Muldoon. Hi, Nick.
Hello, Martin. Thanks for having me.
We're going to be talking about GreenHopper 5.8 and rapid boards, and Nicholas Muldoon is the product manager for Atlassian software for GreenHopper, and I'm very happy that he's taken the time to show us a bit around in, let me say it, his software. And I know it's the software of great people who created it, but for now it's your software, and we're, yeah, maybe you can just show us a bit what, start with what is GreenHopper and what is new in your version 5.8 that will be launched tomorrow, correct?
That's correct. Thanks for the introduction, Martin. So yes, GreenHopper is I'm certainly representing a team of people here. And in fact, I should dedicate this particular release to one of my colleagues, Alexander Henneke, who's just had a baby boy today. And so it's congratulations and celebration within the team.
Yeah,
and I'm wishing Alex and his family all the best.
I also have to thank Paul for helping me to prepare this session here and come up with. Normally, I've trouble having the good agile questions, but now we have, thanks to Paul. So we all have people to thank for. So show us GreenHopper.
Right. So GreenHopper is a tool for agile software development and agile software delivery teams. It assists with the management of backlog, planning sprints, conducting release retrospectives and things of that nature. So it's really a one-stop shop for all of your agile needs, and it's built on top of JIRA, which is an issue tracker. What we're looking at the moment is the welcome mat for GreenHopper 5.8. So here we just have a very simple introduction to GreenHopper, and it's a great way for people that are new to Agile, have come from perhaps a waterfall software development environment and want to learn more about Agile. It's a great way for those people to get up to speed and to start using GreenHopper. When you've actually started looking at GreenHopper, what I'm actually showing you here is the rapid board. And the rapid board is significant. We've been working on it for quite a while now. We've actually been working on it for about 3 or 4 months. And GreenHopper 5.8 is the release of the rapid board to all of our customers. We've actually designed the rapid board to assist Kanban teams primarily at the moment, and we'll be expanding the functionality on the rapid board to support Scrum teams going forward. The board that you see here is actually, it's very simple, but I'll talk you through some different parts of this board, how our team uses this. The GreenHopper team, we have a view, the GreenHopper Kanban board excluding closed. It's a really long title, but essentially what it means is that these are the issues that our team, the GreenHopper team, is looking at on a day-to-day basis. Traditionally, the GreenHopper team has been a Kanban team, and in a Kanban environment, we prioritize a backlog. In fact, I'll just turn off this filter here, and you'll see the whole backlog will actually populate. So we have a large backlog of stories and defects, and as a product owner, I prioritize that backlog. What we've actually done more recently is actually switched off into a Scrum hybrid or a Scrum Kanban hybrid. And so you'll see here that we actually have a to-do. And so this morning we conducted a planning section where we put a number of items here in the to-do column. And that was just a matter of prioritizing the issues that we wanted to get done as a team and committing to that in our planning session.
May I interrupt here?
Yes, certainly, Martin.
As I see, you can drag and drop all the issues on the rapid board. Is that correct, to prioritize them?
That's correct. You can drag and drop the issues to prioritize them.
Okay, and this is new because in the GreenHopper planning board, this wasn't possible, was it?
Yes, that is possible in the planning board in GreenHopper.
Ah, okay.
Yes. Yeah, so I suppose the rapid board for us is the start of a new generation of GreenHopper. There's a lot of GreenHopper in the planning board, the task board, the chart board, and the release board. But what we're doing on the rapid board is an entirely new user interface and user experience. We're doing this to, I suppose, really give people a lot more access to the common functionality depending on their use case. So as a product owner, I do a lot of prioritization of the backlog. As a product owner, I actually use, when I'm doing my prioritization, I use keyboard shortcuts. I've just pulled up the keyboard shortcut help here, but you can see that there's a number of quick keyboard shortcuts that I can use to quickly change. If I want to press M, I can comment on an issue. And this is great for planning sessions. It's great for changing a backlog and changing the priorities of issues. When we're actually working and focusing on what we're working on day to day, you can see here that we've got our to-do column, our in development column, waiting for QA, in QA, and ready for release. The final column here, ready for release, is where all of our issues sit before we send them out. And as you pointed out just before, Martin, we are releasing GreenHopper 5.8, so you'll see that all of our issues here have just been cleared off our backlog today as 5.8 has been released. Not to the world, but certainly internally for us. At the top of each of these columns, we have some numbers. And these numbers are particularly important for Kanban teams that want to limit the amount of work that they have in progress at any one point in time. It's also very important for Scrum teams to limit the amount of work that they have in progress, because you don't want a team of 5 developers necessarily picking up 5 different stories. You might like those developers to pair on one story and ensure that that story is completed as quickly as possible. And to complete those stories, you can see that you can drag stories into a particular column, and they'll hover with blue signifying the workflow states that you can drag it into, and green signifying where you're about to drop that issue.
Oh, cool.
I won't actually move that one because this is our actual real board, but just to give you a feel for it. And so this limit in the red box, it's our maximum constraint. And what will happen is, if we ever exceed 4 issues within the in development column, that column will turn red. And that signifies to us that we have too much work happening at once. For the size of our team, which is 5 developers, we have too much work going on. We need people to be pairing more to get the work across the board as quickly as possible.
That's the work in progress limits, right?
That's correct. That is the work in progress limits.
Which is a classical Kanban style limitation, right?
Yes. And in fact, Scrum teams are picking up the work in progress limits as well, because Scrum teams want to encourage more pairing.
Yeah.
So they are actually using, work in progress limits in a sprint environment to actually minimize the amount of items that are in progress at once. And that can be really useful when you've got a QA team. You can see that we've got the waiting for QA and the QA column here. When you've got a QA team in a Scrum environment, you don't want all of the stories to fall into QA on the last day of the sprint.
Yeah.
So if you limit the amount of work that you have in progress in this in development column, then it's a much better way to see issues fall into the waiting for QA column on a more infrequent basis as opposed to all on the last day of the sprint. Because if you find yourself in a Scrum team with a whole lot of issues in QA on the last day of the sprint, they're probably not going to get done, and that's bad. Or the actual quality review won't be very good. It'll just be a tertiary, just have a quick look at it and then pass it on into ready for release. And that's really not what you want.
Yeah.
Some of the other bits that you see here on the rapid board is the quick filters that we have here at the top. So I'm just going to turn on 581, and that'll only show the issues that are in our next release, which is the 5.8.1 release. And I also wanted to point out our swim lanes which are new for Kanban teams. I'm just going to quickly edit this issue, and I'm going to change the priority of this issue to a blocker. And you'll see as we come back to the rapid board here We've got a new swim lane at the top here for urgent. And this is particularly important for Kanban teams that have class of service. They want to see those critical blocker issues highlighted at the top of their board. And they want to get that across the board as quickly as possible.
Yeah, we have that in our daily business a lot, unfortunately, but it's Paul can tell us more.
Yeah, we call it the fast lane on our board. Yeah, and it's all the blockers that have to be immediately resolved. So,
yeah, cool.
That's right. And you want to make sure that you resolve them as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Okay, one question, Nick. You have a lot of user stories on the board, but what about the tasks that are important to resolve or to make it happen? We do a task breakdown in our team, and do you do something like that? Or?
We have done in the past. It's important to remember that the GreenHopper team, who's building a tool for other agile teams, we change the way that we do things very frequently. And we're doing that so that we can get a better insight into how our customers are using the product. So for instance, we might be Kanban for 3 months and we won't do any estimation, we won't do any task breakdown, we'll focus purely on the flow of issues across the board. And what you see at the moment is we're actually in a transition stage where we're moving from that Kanban mode of operation to a Scrum mode of operation. So we're going to move back to Scrum and we're going to start estimating in story points again. We'll start doing our task breakdown. In the past we've done task breakdown and done hour estimates for the time remaining. But at the moment that's not something that the GreenHopper team does.
Okay.
If I switch over to other boards, other wrap views, you'll actually see other teams within Atlassian doing a time breakdown or doing a story point breakdown.
I assume that it's not easy for you to do that, right? Because
to do the switch from Kanban to Scrum?
No. It was just like the basic question was how does it look like when you do the task breakdown? Will it be very crowded on the board then, or is there any chance that you could show us an example?
I don't think so, unfortunately.
Yeah, no problem. Okay.
I mean, if you see here, this is an example of a task breakdown. It's a very poor example. I'll give you that.
Okay.
Because we're not really doing it today. But you can see here, GHS 3229. That is a story of which GHS 3604 is a subtask, and that's actually a documentation task for the release of 5.8. So that's come over from our 5.8 release. But we really don't have a whole lot of stories in our backlog that I could demonstrate that with, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah, in our team we do use the swim lanes for stories. So every story has its own lane. And in the lane are the different steps to complete the story. So.
And you watch them as they progress across from to do in development done. Yep.
Yeah, right.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's quite common. And as we look to how we build epic functionality and take the swim lanes forward, certainly for a Scrum team, then I think that's something that will come up as well.
Okay.
How do we support that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to the feature presentation that you were giving so that we can get the right overview and don't have too much discussion about it.
Sure. So I'm just going to jump over to the reports now, the report tab on the Rapid board. And you'll see here that we're actually looking at a control chart. This control chart is just for the past month or so. And what you're seeing here is individual issues. So I can look at GHS 3732, adapt, drag and drop to work with global rank. So I have the breakdown of the amount of time that it's spent in each of these and the total cycle time for this particular issue. And so I can see here on the grey line the moving average of the cycle time. Now, as a Kanban team, this gives me a good indication of how long a story is taking to complete. So obviously, over time, if I see a decrease in my cycle time, it can be an indication of two things. It can be that we're actually more efficient and our velocity is increased, or it could be that the size of our stories is actually shrinking, and because we're having smaller stories, we're just getting them done faster.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Can you go back on a dot again?
Yeah, certainly. So that one there is GHS 3773, remove old rank field from screen schemes.
What I understand is the days tell me how long the issue was in a certain state, but I don't understand.
Yes,
I don't understand the warning. Can you explain the warning?
The warning is actually about the limit of issues. So we actually have, you'll see here that we have quite a large backlog, 416 items. So we show everything on our board here. And that's quite unusual. Most teams would only have a backlog of a couple of hundred issues. And because we've got such a large number of items, it's actually clipping. So there's an administration setting on JIRA.Atlassian.com, the server that this lives on, which is our public backlog, to prevent people from downloading all of the issues.
Yeah, okay.
If you have an internal instance, it's not such a big deal, but because this is a public instance, you can see here JIRA.Atlassian.com, it's a public instance and anyone can do a query on this. And obviously if someone did a query for a couple of 100,000 issues, it would probably clag the system. So we have a limit in place for that.
Okay, cool. Just to pose a question here, does that mean that the Rapid board, that I can create my own Rapid board on your instance to view your progress on things?
Yeah, definitely. We have a public backlog, so our customers can get access to our backlog and see what we're working on.
That's cool. So transferring this to my team or my company or our customer's company, that would mean that the marketing department, although they might not be involved at all into product development, could have their own Rapid board where they could see how the teams develop on things that are important for marketing.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you can take this data and use it any way you want. I mean, internally we have sales teams, marketing teams, build engineering teams. We have teams across the entire company using the Rapid board. We have DevOps teams that are focusing on the hosted infrastructure for JIRA Studio. We have the talent team, for instance. Who are the people that we've got to interview? Who's being interviewed this week? Who's been rejected? Who's been accepted? So you can configure this board to anything that you can conceive, right? Any workflow that you have, you can put columns in place for that.
Cool, awesome. Let's go back to the software. Sorry.
No, that's quite all right. One thing I did want to point out with the control chart here is that you can actually filter this by the swim lanes. So, Paul, we were talking earlier about the urgent. You have the fast lane, I think you called it, for those critical issues. Well, if I just want to see the average cycle time of those issues that were, there you go. I don't have any. How do I not have any? Well, we haven't had any criticals then, I suppose. Oh no, we haven't, because I only just set it critical in 501. I apologize. Where's some better data? That's not a good example. Be that as it may, you can actually see the average cycle time for a particular swim lane. So for that expedite swim lane or that critical swim lane, you can see, is my cycle time lower than what it is for the rest of my issues?
Cool.
So that's a very brief overview of the Rapid board in GreenHopper 5.8. I wonder, are there any other questions that you or Paul have?
Yeah, I saw from the video that we translated into German, I saw that you have another a chart that you
yes,
offer.
indeed, you're right. But this is not a. In fact, there's a couple of charts that we have here. On the rapid board today, we have a control chart and a cumulative flow diagram. Now, these are specific for the Kanban teams. Again, over time, this will change. We'll have a burn down chart for our Scrum teams. And so you can actually get different information. So the cumulative flow diagram is the other chart that we have here. And we can just click in to zoom on this chart. And we have a ton of information there. Look at the growth in that backlog over time. Mm-hmm. So since March through to today, our backlog has grown by 200 issues in total. And that's the orange column there. And of course, this is the amount of work that we're actually getting done. Mm-hmm. So that's one of you can see each of these times here, we go through and we knock it off. And if I go back here, you can see that we knock it off, and as customers, because it's a public backlog, as customers raise issues, it can get very big very quickly. Mm. So you have to cut out duplicates and things like that.
Cool.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Now, all of these charts, as well as the actual the task board here, the view of the columns, these are available on wall boards. So you can put them up on a big LCD TV. We have a number of LCD TVs around the office, and we use these TVs to display things like our build status, are our builds passing or failing, what's happening on our board at the moment, what's our cumulative flow diagram like. So we've got all of this information.
Cool.
Okay, cool. Can you show us the view if you click on an issue or story?
Yeah, certainly, Paul. Good point. So we've got a detailed view here. You can see that this one is actually an API for updating the rank of an issue. And so we have our summary here. We can do an inline edit on the summary, or indeed, if we wanted to change the conditions of success here, we could add something new in. We also have, other details about this particular story and comments. In this case, comments from Igor, who's one of our partners at ALM Works and builds the structure plugin, and Seem, I believe, is a customer that we've got that's interested in this one. So when we go through a planning session, we can look at these and we can indeed just go down our list, and we just use keyboard shortcuts, J, J, J down the list, and we can quickly see our conditions of success, see our story, and make a decision. How do we prioritize this? How do we bring this into our sprint?
Yeah, okay. So you're working with this board in your sprint plannings and also in the daily stand-ups?
Yes, we certainly do. During our daily stand-ups, we're generally looking at the wall board, which is up on the wall, and we do a walk the wall. So each one, you can see here the avatars, so that's James, Martin, Michael, Peter. Each morning in the stand-up, each of these individuals will go through and they'll just explain what they've been working on.
Mm-hmm. What does it mean, the avatars? Is it actually what the people are working on, or is it just the issue is assigned to this person?
So that's a good point. In JIRA, we have the concept of an assignment, and so these people are assigned to this issue. These people, as they pick it up from the to-do column and put it in progress, they will also assign it to themselves so that the rest of the team knows that they are working on that, or who is working on that. And then you'll see that, for instance, went us into waiting for QA. In fact, let me find... let me just see if I can get a different board for you. No, that's not going to help. So you can see here that these ones are That's actually a bad example as well. I'm sorry, gentlemen.
Hold on. One question about this screen. There are a lot of issues that have these dots on the bottom, and when we saw this first, we assumed okay, hovering helps. Okay, forget my question. It's
okay. Well, so what this is actually showing the days in the column. So if you look here, you'll see on the GreenHopper board we don't have those dots here. But here's one. This is a great example. I'd like to have my GreenHopper builds tested on Chrome and Firefox latest. So this particular story has been in to-do, in development, in waiting for QA. It's been back to the backlog. It's been all over the place. And that's what's that? That's got to be 8 or 10 days, 9 days. And so this is one of those issues. That's a great quick indicator for us, for me as a product owner and for Stuart as a Scrum Master, that this is an issue that we need to look at. If I can see my issues going across the board and they don't have any dots on them, or they have very few dots on them, that's a really good indication that our cycle time is low. But if we see a whole lot of dots, then we know that our cycle time is very high. And of course you can see here in our backlog column that nearly all of these issues have a full number of dots here. They probably have 30 days or 40 days, so 26 days for this particular one. And that shows that, you know, that particular issue was created nearly a month ago.
Yeah.
So this is really unusual for a, for a Kanban team. It's really unusual to have such a large backlog, and it's just in light of the fact that we have a public backlog that so many issues keep getting put into it, and we need to go through every couple of months and close a whole lot of them off. Because ordinarily in a Kanban team, you don't want to have a whole lot of issues. You don't want to have a huge backlog. It's waste, right? Yeah. It's waste if you're not going to do it, so you just close it off and say, hey, we're not going to do that. But of course, you know, you generally find, I generally find at least that in Scrum teams, the Scrum teams will, they'll generally have larger backlogs because they feel that, hey, it's the great unwashed. They're untriaged, they're not scheduled for a sprint, so I can just leave it there, I don't need to care about it. But at the end of the day, it is waste. And, you know, if your customers ask for something and it's not high enough priority to deal with it straight away, you should close it off.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not interested into rapid boards. What else does GreenHopper 5.8 have in it for me?
So one of the other big features that existing GreenHopper customers will be excited about is the new ranking. So we have previously had a ranking mechanism where, you know, doing all these rank operations, like if I just rank that to the top, when I do these rank operations every so often, it would have to re-index JIRA. And certainly for our larger customers, 200,000, 300,000 or a million issues in their JIRA instance, which obviously are very large companies, right? I mean, you can imagine hundreds of projects, thousands of developers on different projects, and using GreenHopper. So it would take a while to re-index, and these large customers are going to be very happy that we've now got a new ranking mechanism that is a lot faster and doesn't require any re-index. So it's a huge improvement for our existing customers. As I say, the Kanban teams are going to love the new rapid board because of the swim lanes, the controls. The Scrum teams that want to work across multiple projects today. So if you're an existing JIRA customer and GreenHopper customer and you want to, you can imagine that a real world project doesn't map exactly to one JIRA project in many circumstances. Perhaps in the case of Seibert Media, you have a consulting organization and one team might be working for 2 or 3 customers at once. So in your sprint, you might have 2 or 3 issues from 2 or 3 different projects. You can now do that on your rapid board and prioritize the issues amongst those different projects. So that's actually one of the biggest features out of the gate with the rapid board is that it now supports multiple JIRA projects. It's our largest feature request to date with over, I believe, 270 or maybe even these days over 300 votes. So it really is a popular issue and one that we know that a ton of customers are going to pick up straight away.
Okay, so Nicholas, thank you very much for showing us what's new in GreenHopper and the power of rapid boards. We're especially excited over here, and let's get over into a discussion mode of what this helps and how we can have good use cases for this part of the software. But I would like to end this video here. Oh, I'm getting a call. I'm sorry. It was just
sorry,
like
Martin, I was just going to say, can I show one thing quickly? I'm not sure if it's of interest to your customers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you might want to
absolutely
cut it out. But one thing I did want to just point out is that the Rapid board is built on JIRA query language from the ground up. And so JIRA query language allows you to pull data out of JIRA, issues out of JIRA with any combination. So fixed versions you can see here, components, issue type. You have the full flexibility with the Rapid board to create any query that you can imagine. And it's the same for our swim lanes. You can create an expedite swim lane using JQL. So I could do priority equals blocker. And indeed, you can do the same with quick filters. So I can see what quick filters do I have? I can create quick filters using JQL. In terms of flexibility and configuration, you can go to the nth degree. But if you just want to get started, using the Kanban preset is the way to go. So you can just use a Kanban preset. As I say, the Scrum preset will be coming in due course.
Yeah. Perfect.
Thanks, Martin. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time to walk us through. And I think this is especially exciting for Agile teams, both Kanban and Scrum teams. And we are looking forward to see more progress on the Rapid boards. Cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. So let me get my screen again so everybody knows where he can go to get more information. And bye-bye.